Welcome students to learn lesson number 10, active and passive voice. Students, what do you mean by the word voice? Voice is that property of the verb which shows whether the subject is performing means doing the action, or receiving an action. One has to be careful while changing personal pronouns. If the subject or object in a sentence in the active voice is a pronoun, it changes its form as shown in the table here, except the pronouns you and it. In the active voice, I changes to me, passive voice. We changes to us. He, him, she, her. They, them. You, it remains unchanged. Let us make some sentences using personal pronouns. 1. I baked delicious cookies. Active voice. Passive voice. Delicious cookies were baked by me. I changes to me. Second one. We know the facts. Active voice. The facts are known to us. Passive voice. We changes to us. Third example. He gave away the prizes. Active voice. The prizes were given away by him. Passive voice. He changes to him. Fourth example. She is washing clothes. Active voice. The clothes are being washed by her. The pronoun she changes to her. Fifth one. They are painting the fence. The fence is been painted by them. Passive voice. They changes to them. Sixth one. You packed the bag. Active voice. The bag was packed by you. The pronoun you and it remains unchanged. Students, on the screen we have two sentences. One, Mary cooks delicious food. Active voice. Second one, delicious food is cooked by Mary. Mary, subject, cooks, verb, delicious food, objects. Second one, delicious food, subject, is cooked, verb, Mary, object. Students, in the first sentence, the object, that is delicious food, in the active voice changes to subject in the passive voice. So we begin the sentence with delicious food in the passive voice, whereas the subject, that is Mary, in the active voice changes to object in the passive voice. Students, both the sentences express the same meaning, but in sentence 1, the subject Mary is the doer of the action. So the verb cooks is said to be in the active voice. In the second sentence, the subject delicious food is the receiver of the action. So the verb is cooked is said to be in the passive voice. The verb is active if the subject performs an action. I repeat, the verb is active if the subject performs the action. The verb is passive if the subject receives an action. I repeat, the verb is passive if the subject receives an action. Conversion from active voice to passive voice. Students, we shall learn how the verb in the simple present tense, that is in the active voice, changes to is, am, are plus verb 3 in the passive voice. In the sentences 1, 2 and 3, the verbs play, welcome, do waste are all in simple present tense. Changes to is, am, are plus verb 3 in the passive voice. If the subject is singular, we have to use is. For example, 1. We play cricket daily. Cricket is object, changes to subject. Verb is play. Simple present changes to is, am, are plus verb 3. Cricket is singular, so we shall use is. The answer is cricket is played daily by us. For the object in the passive voice, use a preposition by. Second example, Indians welcome the guest. Welcome is verb, it is in simple present tense. Changes to is, am, are plus verb 3. Guest is plural, so we are going to use the guests are welcomed by Indians. Before the object in the passive voice, we have to use a preposition by. Third example, we do not waste our time. Our time is object, changes to subject. Our time is singular, so we are using is not wasted by us. For the object us, use a preposition by. Students, let's learn how the verbs attacked, liked, made, heard in simple past tense changes to was, were plus verb 3 in the passive voice. If the subject is singular, use was, or else use were. In the first sentence, the subject Alexander changes to object in the passive voice. If we have to change from passive to active, that is, India was attacked by Alexander. Change from passive to active. Then the object Alexander in the passive voice changes to subject in the active voice. Now let's go to the examples. 1. Alexander attacked India. India was attacked by Alexander. Attacked is in simple past tense, changes to was or were plus verb 3. India is singular, so we use was attacked by Alexander. Before the object, in the passive voice, use a preposition by. Second example, everybody liked the new teacher. The new teacher was liked by everybody. Again we use was because the new teacher is singular. Third one, you made many mistakes. Made is past tense, changes to was, were in the passive voice. Many mistakes, it is plural, so we use were. Many mistakes were made by you. Before the object, use a preposition by in the passive voice. Nobody heard her cries. Her cries is the object, changes to subject in the passive voice. Her cries were heard, cries plural, so we use were heard by nobody. Students, let's study how the verbs in simple future tense changes from active to passive voice. The rule is simple future tense changes to will be plus verb 3, that is past participle in passive voice. The verbs will buy, will prepare, shall buy, will tell in the active voice changes to will be bought, will be prepared, will be bought, will be told in the passive voice. Students, let's go through the examples. 1. Sanya will buy a new frock. A new frock is object, changes to subject in passive voice. A new frock will be bought by Sanya. Second example, my mother will prepare dinner. Dinner is object, changes to subject in passive voice. Dinner will be prepared by my mother. Third example, we shall buy a new car next month. A new car will be bought by us next month. She will tell an interesting story. An interesting story object changes to subject in the passive voice. An interesting story will be told by her. She changes to her in the passive voice. With the help of the given examples, let's learn to change present continuous tense and past continuous tense from active voice to passive voice. Examples 1 and 2. Present continuous tense in the active voice changes to is, am, are plus being plus verb 3, that is past participle in passive voice. The verbs is playing, is beating, is in present continuous tense active voice changes to is being played, is being beaten in the passive voice. Students, let's go to the examples. The child is playing a video game. A video game is the object changes to subject in the passive voice. A video game is being played by the child. Second example, the servant is beating the carpet. The carpet object changes to subject in the passive voice. The carpet is being beaten by the servant. In examples 3 and 4, we have past continuous tense in the active voice changes to was, were plus being plus past participle, that is verb 3 in the passive voice. The verbs was delivered, were serving in the active voice changes to was being delivered, were being served in the passive voice. Third example, the teacher was delivering the lecture. The lecture is object changes to subject in the passive voice. The lecture was being delivered. We use here was because the lecture is singular. Fourth example, they were serving the guest. The guest object changes to subject. The guests were being served by them. We have guest plural subject, so we use were. With the help of the given examples, let's learn to change present perfect tense, past perfect tense, and future perfect tense from active to passive voice. In example 1, She has won the first prize. We have the verb has won in the active voice changes to has been won in the passive voice. So the answer is the first prize has been won by her. Second example, my father had deposited the money in the bank. Here we have the verb had deposited in the active voice changes to had been deposited in the passive voice. So the answer is the money had been deposited in the bank by my father. Third example, the architect will have designed the building. We have the verb will have designed in the future perfect tense changes to will have been designed in the passive voice. So the answer is the building will have been designed by the architect. Transformation of interrogative sentences into passive voice. On the screen, we have 11 interrogative sentences in active voice. Students, let's learn to change interrogative sentences from active to passive voice. When a question begins with words like who, what, which, when, where, and why, and is changed from active to passive voice, the question word is retained and a preposition by is used along with past participle, it is verb 3. Let us learn with examples from sentences 1 to 6. 1. Who presided over the meeting? By whom was the meeting presided over? 2. What are you doing? What is being done by you? Passive voice. Third one. Which road have the protesters blocked? Which road have been blocked by the protesters? Passive voice. When did you complete this? When was this completed by you? Passive voice. Where have you kept the lock and the key? Where has the lock and the key been kept by you? Passive voice. Why did you cheat her? Why was she cheated by you? Students, the next rule is auxiliary verbs like do, did, does in active voice changes to is, are, was, were in passive voice. Let us learn with examples 7, 8 and 9. Do you believe in God? The sentence begins with do, so we have to change to verbs like is, are, was, were. So here we are using is God believed in by you? 8.1. Did she disobey you? The question begins with did, so we can use either is, are, was, were. We are using were you disobeyed by her? 9th one. Does he recite poems? Are poems recited by him? Again, auxiliary verbs like has and have in active voice changes to has been, have been plus past participle, that is verb 3. We have example 10 and 11. The question word is have and has. We can change to has been, have been plus past participle, that is verb 3. Have you washed the dishes? Have the dishes been washed by you? Passive voice. Has she cleared her dues? Have her dues been cleared by her? Students, you are requested to revise the important rules to change from active voice to passive voice and from passive voice to active voice. Change imperative sentences into passive voice. When the sentence in the active voice is an imperative sentence, that is a command or order, then let be, needs is used to change the sentence to passive voice. Students, let us go to the examples. 1. Do it. Let it be done. Passive voice. Do not ill-treat the poor. Let the poor not be ill-treated. Passive voice. Next one. Lock the gate before going to sleep. The main gate needs to be locked before going to sleep. Passive voice. Submit your answer sheets. Your answer sheets needs to be submitted. Students, when the imperative sentence in the active voice is an advice or suggestion, we use should, must be, plus past participle of the verb. Examples: call the police. The police must be called. Passive voice. Next one. Take medicines at regular timings. Medicines should be taken at regular timings. Students, if the active voice, the sentence begins with please, kind, we have to use you are requested to, or kindly, please are placed between may and be. Please switch off your mobile phones. You are requested to switch off your mobile phone. Next example. Kindly grant me a month's leave. Month's leave may kindly be granted to me. Kindly is used between the words may and be.